Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating journey, the 30-year evolution of the Toyota RAV4. Now, you probably see these vehicles every single day, but its history is literally a masterclass in design adaptation and engineering.
30 years. I mean, just surviving in the wildly competitive auto industry for 3 decades is an impressive feat on its own. But to continuously dominate the market from 1996 all the way to 2026, well, that requires a very specific, highly calculated kind of evolution.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think of it kind of like the RAV4's hero's journey. It started with these rugged off-road origins back in '96, went through a massive shift toward everyday practicality in the 2000s, accelerated right into the hybrid revolution of the 2010s, and that brings us perfectly to the climax in 2026. Here's our evolutionary roadmap for today. First, the 1996 RAV4 revolution. Second, off-road to family-friendly. Third, engines, hybrids, and safety. Fourth, the biggest generational leaps. And finally, the 2026 ultimate verdict.
All right, Section 1, the 1996 RAV4 revolution, establishing the baseline.
Now, what's really interesting here is that back in 1996, the RAV4 was a vastly different machine. This original compact crossover was completely defined by that nostalgic 90s exterior, and believe it or not, genuine, plucky off-road capabilities. By blending a unibody platform, which they actually borrowed from the Corolla and Celica, with a higher ride height, it totally broke away from the heavy, clunky truck-like feel of traditional SUVs. It was smaller, punchier, and built for weekend adventures. This is our ground zero for the evolution we're about to track.
Moving on to Section 2, off-road to family-friendly, the pivotal shift. As the years ticked on, a massive shift occurred. Toyota traded that 1990s off-road focus for modern family practicality. And why? Well, because consumer demands changed. Buyers no longer really wanted a weekend trail crawler. They demanded space, comfort, and everyday utility for their families.
The big takeaway here is that the RAV4's design perfectly mirrored the changing needs of the modern American family. Instead of fighting the current to stay a niche off-roader, it evolved to meet families exactly where they were, right there on their daily commutes.
Let's get under the hood in Section 3, engines, hybrids, and safety.
And this brilliantly illustrates the engineering progression across the generations. Honestly, it's staggering. Early models offered super basic comfort with gas-only engines and standard seatbelts. But by the middle generations, we started seeing early sensor tech and the very first hybrids introduced. Today, the modern era brings premium comfort, incredibly advanced safety suites, and amazing fuel efficiency.
We can basically map the powertrain's journey in 3 clear steps: core engine evolution, crucial fuel efficiency enhancements, and finally, those game-changing hybrid innovations. This wasn't just a slight tweak, folks. The shift to hybrids completely revolutionized the RAV4 and absolutely cemented its dominance.
Which brings us to Section 4, the biggest generational leaps, old versus new.
Placing these generations side by side reveals those real wow moments. The leap from a quirky, boxy 90s crossover to this sleek, dominant road presence is dramatic, to say the least. But it's actually inside the cabin where the staggering leaps in comfort, sound insulation, and integrated tech truly show how far this vehicle has traveled over the years.
So what specific milestones propelled the RAV4 to become America's best-selling SUV? First, that deliberate transition to a family-first design. Second, leaning heavily into hybrid tech. Third, making advanced safety standard across the board. And fourth, clinching that top sales spot. These weren't accidents. They were incredibly calculated leaps.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the 2026 ultimate verdict, the climax.
Based on everything we've covered today, the design shifts, the interior upgrades, that massive leap from off-roader to family commuter, it brings us to one final question. Is the 2026 model the best version ever built?
Well, the 2026 Toyota RAV4 really does stand as the ultimate culmination of 30 years of continuous innovation, safety upgrades, and hybrid evolution. It represents the absolute pinnacle of Toyota's ability to learn and adapt. But I'll leave you with this to think about. If the last 30 years transformed this vehicle from a basic 90s off-roader into a highly advanced hybrid family command center, what kind of radical, unimaginable transformations will consumer demand